All right, good morning and welcome. It's Corporate Governance Platform brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN. I'm Funmi Omoburiwo. Today on the program, we want to take a look at transparency and disclosure as an important concept in corporate governance. Transparency and disclosure as an important concept in corporate governance. That's going to be a focus on the show this morning. And my guest is right here in the studio. I have Ms. AKUDAZIE NDUGBU, ACIS, Deputy Registrar Operations. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning. All right, also with me in the studio, I have Mr. Kayode Ketefe, FCIS, Head of Research, ICSAN. All right, good morning, Mr. Ketefe.
Good morning, Funmi. Good morning to you, our special guest, Ms. AKUDAZIE NDUGBU, ACIS, and all our listeners. Good morning and compliment of the season to you once again.
All right, let's take this message and we'll be right back. Just stay with us.
The world is constantly evolving into a knowledge-based economy where skills and competencies constitute the lifeblood of public and corporate governance. You therefore need to empower yourself to fit into this new world by gaining basic knowledge and improving your skill set in the governance-focused disciplines. That is why every aspiring as well as practicing professional in governance field needs ICSAN.
ICSAN. What is ICSAN?
ICSAN is a leading statutorily established professional body dedicated to enhancing the status and practice of corporate governance and public administration. ICSAN members are trained as chartered secretaries and administrators.
Who are chartered secretaries and administrators?
Chartered secretaries are high-ranking governance professionals with a broad base of skills, unique amongst other professions. They are trained in law, finance, accounting, administration, strategy development, and corporate governance. In today's world, chartered secretaries and administrators discharge a wide range of duties and responsibilities, including functioning as chairmen of companies, executive directors, non-executive directors, company secretaries, risk managers, compliance managers, board evaluators, and corporate governance evaluators.
That is interesting. How then do I become a chartered secretary and administrator?
Good. Go to the Institute's website, www.icsan.org. You can also visit the National Secretariat of ICSAN at Plot 6, Elephant Cement Way, Alausa, Ikeja, Lagos, to get full information on how to become members. ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
All right, of course, still corporate governance right here. And as I said earlier, we're taking a look at transparency and disclosure as an important concept in corporate governance. All right, Ms. NDUGBU, let's begin this way. Let's try to understand the concept of transparency and disclosure.
Transparency and disclosure are linked, and it refers to the extent to which investors have ready access to required information about a company, and it also refers to the access and proper disclosure of those information, which includes information about their price level, ownership structure, their financial, their market base, and the audited reports of the company. So those disclosures have to be made in a timely manner. And this is why the principles of the principle 28 and 27 of the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance requires that companies keep stakeholders informed of all relevant information and disclose all material facts to investors and stakeholders.
All right, so let's look at, the relevance of transparency and disclosure in the context of corporate governance.
Transparency and disclosure are essential elements of corporate governance because they help make informed decisions, support the company in its relationship with the stakeholders. It builds trust, it promotes accountability, and it also attracts investors because investors are more inclined to invest in a company that they have access to the company information. And then it also reduces the likelihood of unethical practices, and it creates a corporate culture of transparency and open communication.
All right. I'd like you to probably highlight some issues on which disclosures should be made.
The company's audited reports, financial and operating results should be disclosed every year.
Okay.
The company objectives, the ownership structure of the company, the remuneration policy of the company, related party transactions, and risk factors, foreseeable risk factors should be disclosed at each time, yes.
All right, let's try to look at the difference between financial and non-financial disclosures.
Well, financial disclosure refers to statements on company's current financial position, detailing the earnings, assets, liabilities, while the non-financial disclosures refers to making available information on matters relating to ownership structure, investor relationship, board management structure and processes, risk factor and environmental impact analysis. Now, the financial disclosure is usually made through the audited financial report that is published every year from each company.
Okay.
And while the non-financials are included in some reports, like the director's reports, management reports, and so non-financial disclosure helps to provide stakeholders with perspective beyond the financial figures, and it adds to their understanding of the prevailing circumstances and realities of the company. So both financial and non-financial disclosure combined to provide wholesome information about the company, and they're both necessary.
All right, great. Now let's look at some of the harms of not fulfilling the disclosure requirements and ideals.
Well, most regulatory bodies like Securities and Exchange Commission, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and other regulatory bodies require that the companies that they regulate make some reports at given times, for instance, their financials, their annual reports. And so when companies fail to make those disclosures at given time, they are liable to pay fines and some other form of punishment. Sometimes the directors are equally held liable for some failures in disclosure. Also, the company may be alienated from their shareholders' interest. It may result to reputational damage to the company. Stakeholders will be averse to dealing with the company. It may even affect their share prices. It may affect the value of their shares where they fail to make proper disclosures. And it would affect negatively the company's profitability and sustainability. So weak disclosures as well are equally as bad as non-disclosure. So weak disclosure will contribute to unethical behavior in the company, loss of market integrity, loss of market share, and it will affect the company as a whole. So insufficient or unclear information will hamper the company's ability to function in the markets. For instance, like in the Securities and Exchange Commission. So it's proper for the company to make filings, require them disclosures as at when due. Yes.
All right. Now, how important is the concept of transparency and disclosure in stakeholders' relationship?
Well, stakeholder relationship management is essential to optimizing the relationship with the company and its stakeholders. So stakeholders involves the company's clients, the shareholders, even the regulators are some of the stakeholders of the company. So transparency and disclosure is one of the ways they manage stakeholder relationship, and transparency and disclosure ensures that there's constant engagement with the stakeholders. So there's regular, periodic engagement in terms of releasing information, maybe quarterly or annually, to stakeholders of the company, the company's goings as a going concern. So this is one of the ways the companies build its relationship. So stakeholder engagement cannot be managed. The stakeholder relationship cannot be managed where there's no transparency, where there's no disclosure. So transparency and disclosure is very vital in stakeholder relationship.
Now, on transparency, there's a provision of the code that the Code on Corporate Governance that communicating and interacting with stakeholders keep them conversant with the activities of the company and assist them in making informed decisions. Now, to what extent do you agree with this statement?
Yes, Principle 27 of the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance 2018 provides that the company should communicate with stakeholders, keeping them conversant. This statement is it's accurate, it's trite, that the transparency, the communication with stakeholders should be timely, and it should be done in an appropriate manner and in the required format. So this is very, very vital for stakeholder relationship. For instance, the capital market cannot function where there are no disclosures and there's no transparency. So this practice is very, very important, and it ensures that the accurate information is released to the shareholders, the stakeholders, the regulator, and even the general public on all critical issues and areas that affects the company.
On disclosure, still talking about, the provision of the code, it says the board should ensure that the company's annual report includes a corporate governance report that provides clear information on the company's governance structures, policies and practices, as well as environmental and social risks and opportunities. Now, my question is, what's the significance of this requirement?
Yes, the principle you just read out is provided in Principle 28 of the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance, and it's relevant in the sense that the annual reports and accounts is a mechanism for the directors to divulge crucial information to shareholders and stakeholders. So there's need to ensure communication is accessible to the public, and that this annual report contains not just the financials, but it includes non-financial information. So you're required to ensure that non-financial information is contained as regards the governance structure, the policies and practices, the risk assessment, and all the issues that are not related to the financials. So it's important that such information are included to make sure that information and reliable investment decisions are made concerning the company.
All right. Before I let you go, what your advice for corporate entities on the issue of transparency and disclosure?
Well, I advise companies to ensure that they adhere to the principles of the Nigerian Code of Corporate Governance as it relates to transparency and disclosure, and also ensures that they engage well-trained professionals and organizations on corporate governance like ICSAN for guidance and training on all areas relating to corporate governance, especially on the theme of disclosures and transparency.
Thank you so much, Mr. AKUDAZIE NDUGBU ACIS. All right, Mr. Ketefe, does ICSAN have any guidance materials on transparency and disclosure?
Thank you very much, Fumi, for this apt question. Of course, the Institute has enormous amount of publications and materials on the theme of transparency and disclosure. So interested parties may contact the Institute to get a directory of all these publications. Secondly, transparency and disclosure often comes up as a theme in our regular programs like the annual conference, annual public lecture, roundtable on corporate governance, among others program. The communique that we issue at the end of all these programs routinely contain practical recommendations to guide all stakeholders in the governance balance, including the stakeholders in public and private sectors. Furthermore, the training department of the Institute, the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, also offers regular training on the theme of transparency and disclosure, among other themes in corporate governance. Corporate entities can also request bespoke training from ICSAN, especially the training of their directors and top management staff on any theme on corporate governance. ICSAN has acquired a reputation as one of the leading providers of top-notch trainings on corporate governance in Nigeria. Many organizations and corporate entities have benefited from our robust training programs over the years. So for more information on ICSAN training, please call AKUDAZIE on 08037266853. For more information on ICSAN training, please call AKUDAZIE on 08037266853. Thank you and have a pleasant day.
All right, thanks so much, Mr. Kaudike Tefe, CIS, Head of Research, ICSAN, and in like manner, our guest this morning, Ms. AKUDAZIE NDUGBU, ACIS, Deputy Registrar Operations, ICSAN. Thank you for joining us on Corporate Governance Platform this morning.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right, and that's how we'll wrap it up this morning on Corporate Governance Platform, brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN. We'll be back again next week, Wednesday, 10:15 a.m. on a fresh edition of the program. I'm Funmi Omoburiu. Enjoy the rest of the day.